This is my interview for lesson 7. We have to make a linked list that inserts car makers using tail pointer and head pointers. And we have to delete specific car makers from the list as well as display the list of car makers. I'm just going to recreate this sample output and try to explain the best I can while I'm writing the code. First, we'll start with the car maker header, which is where we need to make a struct for the nodes that we're going to use. And here, I'm going to make a string car maker to use later, as well as a node for next. I'll make a constructor and for the node and use maker as a pointer. And we'll just make next and set that to null pointer. And next, I will implement the class for CarMaker. We'll just call it CarMaker list. And here is where I will declare the nodes for head and tail, as well as the public functions for the constructor. And the deconstructor, as well as the functions to insert the car maker using maker as a pointer, delete car maker and using maker as a pointer, as well as a display list function and a bool for if if the list is empty or not. And the delete car maker will be a bool as well, which I will explain when I'm writing the function. Next, we're going to work on the CPP, which is where we implement all of these constructors. And we can just construct it in the same straightforward fashion like this. And we'll just set everything to null pointers instead of just null to make everything easier. And we need the deconstructor, which is a little bit more to it than just a normal deconstructor, because you actually have to loop through all of the nodes and make sure that it while there's still information, that you set the temp to current, set your current to the next one, and you delete temp. And then make sure your head is equal to null pointer and your tail is equal to null pointer by the end. And next we will make the function to insert car maker. And here we just need a new node That's going to be the maker. And first we have to check if the list is empty. And if it is, then we just set the head and the tail to the new node. Otherwise, we have to just set the tail to the null pointer at the end of the list, and then reset that, and then set that to set the tail to the null pointer at the end of the list, and then set the tail to the new node. And here we will make the delete car function, which again we have to check if it's empty. And if it is, we will just return false. If the list is not empty, then we have to see if the head is the maker we're looking for, and if it is, then we have to set a temp to the head, set the head to the next one, and then we want to delete it, but we have to make sure if the list becomes empty after we delete the head, that we update the tail pointer. So if the head is equal to null pointer, then we want to set the tail to null as well, because that means we're going to delete the first one, the only one, and we have to set both. The head will be set to null pointer, but we have to make sure the tail is as well as set to null pointer. And then we can just delete temp and return true. Oh, here, I didn't want to do that yet. I wanted to put that in this if statement. So if the head is the one we're looking for, then update the pointers and make sure it's the tail and the head are pointing in the right spot, and then delete the temp. There we go. But if that's not the case, then we have to make a current temp or current pointer and set that to the head, because we need to search through now until we find until either we reach the end of the list, or if we don't find it. So if we hit null pointer, and if we never find the carbate. So this way it will loop through all of the car makers and Sorry, this needs to be next. Yeah, there we go. This will loop through all of them and check to see if the maker we are looking for is one in the list or not. So if that's not one that we want, then we want to just keep looping through. And then if the node is found, then we want to delete it. I want to set temp to the node we want to delete. And then we want to set the current one to the next one after the temp. Because if temp is equal to the last one, we want to make sure that tail goes to the that we want to make sure that the tail gets reset to a proper pointer and isn't just thrown to nothing. So we always want to make sure that our pointers are in the right spot. And then we just want to delete temp and return true. And then if we just don't find it at all, we want to return false. Now we just need to display the car maker list. Which, if it's empty, we just want to let them know that the list is empty in return. And if it's not empty, then we need to output car maker list. And then we want to set a new current to the head. And then while current is not a null pointer, we want to output the current car maker. And if current next is not null pointer, so if it's not at the end, then we want to see out a arrow to make it look pretty. And if we are at the end, we want to see out a pointer arrow at this point and let them know that we are at the end. And then we move on to the next one. And that will loop through all of the car makers and display each one. And if there's another car maker at on the next one, it will I'll put an arrow and then go back and add the car maker until it's at the end. And then once it's at the end, it will see out that it is at the end, that it's at null. And then we will just end the line there, just for it to look nice on the display. And then we just have to write the empty function, which if head is equal to null pointer, then you return true. Because that just means that the list is empty, because head should always be set to whatever the first one is in the list. So now if we go over to the main, I can write pretty much the entire program now. So we'll just make a new list and we will output that we're going to add Ford, Mercedes, as well as Genesis. Line. And then here is where we just call the car maker list and insert car maker, where we just enter the name. And that should add all of them to the list. And then we just want to display the list and see out an inline to make it look prettier. And then we shall see out another message that says we're going to delete Mercedes. And then we can just call car maker delete list, or delete car maker, and then add the Mercedes name. And then we shall display the list again, add an inline, and then we shall see out that we're going to add BMW and Lexus. In the line. And then here we can just say insert car maker BMW, and then we want to display the list. And then we want to add, we don't want to delete. I want to dot insert. And here we'll just Lexus. Now, wait, we still need to display the last list. Now, if I run this program, oh, I forgot a semicolon at the end of my header. Now we should be able to compile. We compiled. And we actually have the entire function. We have the entire program right here where it adds the car makers, but it also skips a line, which that is just when we display the list, I skip too many lines with these int L's. And I probably don't need to. Like here. Yeah. I just need to display the list. And then this should put them all in order. And as we see, we add all three to the list. We delete Mercedes out of the middle. And then we add BMW here. And then we add Lexus next. Thank you for your time. Thank you for viewing my project. See you in the next one.